I introduce Aya. I welcome Aya Caspi. I thank you so much for being here and for all the work that you do. I feel really honored every time I'm your host in Time for Empathy. I follow also your what you share in the world, and it's has for me as a profound depth. And there's I don't know, there's something very profound and serious in it that I really appreciate because I have a sense it brings so much quality and content also into this world.
Mm.
And yeah, so today you will talk about mediation. And I have a sense there's also some fearlessness in you, or some part in you that is willing to face fear and to face or be in very uncomfortable situations and with braveness. So this is
Mm.
how I see you and how I appreciate you. And yeah, thanks so much for being here for all these years
Wow.
already. And I hand over to you. Thanks.
It's the most moving introduction I ever received in any conference. Thank you, Corey. Very meaningful. Yeah, I'm very moved to be here. I'm noticing my heart is really heavy, from everything that is happening in the world. People probably can notice my accent. I grew up in Israel and I have a family in Israel who's running to the shelters. I have people who study with me in Iran that I accompany them daily, and they wanted to be here. They cannot be here because the internet is shut down. I think that when I first came to this Time for Empathy, the first time, maybe it was the beginning of the war in Russia, Ukraine, and it's still happening all these years later. Yeah, and here we are talking about mediating with empathy. Mediating with empathy. I met Marshall Rosenberg one time, 2011, at his last international intensive training in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he was crying a lot, thinking he's gonna die and NVC is not gonna make any dent in the world. I think NVC is growing a lot in the world, and it feeds my hope that one day these mediation skills and all these consciousness and skills that we are learning and gaining will actually contribute in much bigger scale, because I know today we're going to talk about just a very daily situation that we chose for this role play, for this mediation, but the principles are the same for the little conflicts and the big conflicts. So I invite you to check in the chat if you'd like to share where you're calling from, anything that will help you land here. We're not going to be able to hear from everyone, but I'm delighted to see 67 people so far. And I am planning to share some slides very shortly, just a short framing about NVC mediation and the role of empathy as I understand it. Show you a short video, 5-minute video, where it's a video that my son edited from my mediation lab program, where you can really see how this empathic translation can move things forward in a mediation. I want to introduce my two guests, Celeste and Randy, whom I've known for a while, and they're both NVC, very serious NVC practitioners, and they're gonna support the role play today. Celeste is also gonna be at the video because she's been doing a lot of role plays with me. It's my favorite way of engaging with NVC. I learned that from Marshall. I think so much can happen, so much learning can happen when we do a role play. And Randy is co-holding with me our year-long program. Thank you both for being here. So that's the plan for today. Let's get started. Maybe Corey, if you're willing to share the slides, and I think everyone will receive the slides, so don't worry about taking notes. You can go to the next one.
Can you see?
Yeah, can you go to
Yeah.
the next one?
Oh, yes, sure. Yes, sure.
Oh, yeah, this is just me doing a mediation in one of the workshops, supporting others in reclaiming trust and togetherness. I didn't have any formal training of mediation other than my NVC training. I think I just watched a lot of Marshall's video, Mickey Kashtan's conflict hotline show on YouTube, and just learned through that. And it is a very powerful way to support other people in restoring trust and togetherness. And I've been doing this for maybe 18 years now. And that's a big part of my work in the world. So let's go to the next one. I just want to share like the basic mediation model that I work with. I usually, one of the main principles of NVC mediation is we focus on connection. And when everyone's needs are being heard and understood, only then we shift to solutions, requests, agreements. I think that's a very different structure from mainstream mediation, where the focus tends to be on negotiation, finding a compromise, and resolving, the issues. So it's much more relationship oriented. And I usually do a pre-mediation individual meetings with people. I'm not going to review all of it. I'm just kind of briefly letting you know the structures and the focus for today. And we're not going to do the role play of the pre-mediation meetings today. The next part of the mediation is when we actually meet. That's the next slide. With people. And I think that really the heart of the process is when I, as a mediator, support people in being heard through the practice of empathy, and specifically NVC empathy, which is about guessing feelings and needs, but more needs than feelings, because needs are the heart of the matter, and trying to reframe, translate all the judgments, all the strategies, all the demands into this language of the heart. And so the basic model that we're gonna show in the role play today is that one person expresses however they express their needs, and then I empathize with them, or I ask the other person to reflect what they hear the other person saying, and I support them. And we do this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until there is a weaving process of, opening the heart, more understanding, more connection, and more trust. So my plan for today, we're not going to do the whole process of mediation, is really to focus on this part and see what learning we can harvest from this. So I'm not going to do the third part, but I'm going to name the third part, which is the next slide. When there is a sense of settling, a sense of like arriving, people experience being heard, being understood, we shift to, this is kind of a different tempo, to supporting people in making an agreement that works for all. And there are some principles to that too, that we're not gonna get into today. So I'm just gonna pause and see if there are any questions or comments so far. Okay, I'm not seeing anything.
I guess I'm
Oh,
curious. Sorry. I guess
yeah.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I'm curious if there's ever any time this doesn't work.
When you say this, what do you mean this by this?
Mediating through MVC with empathy.
Yeah, I mean, using NVC or any mediation, really, there's no guarantee, never, that we will be able to restore as we hope. And I think chances are so much more higher when we do this. And even if sometimes it's not fully complete, it tends to be, we end up in a better place than we were before that. So, there is a really spiritual component to this. Marshall said, if you just stick with these principles, it's kind of an invitation for grace. And that's what's been my experience. That, it's an invitation for magic, but we can only do what we can do and then let go. Sometimes, I've seen mediations that didn't work too. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. For me, even if things, we don't end up, everyone is hugging and kissing, there's something about trying, there's something about sometimes it takes more time, people take a break and they come back later. There are all kind of variations on the topic. Okay. For me, I think it's really, as someone who grew up in Israel in a war zone, and this like incredible violence, trying to do something different, trying to create this alternative in the world, is super meaningful. So the next slide, I think it's slide number 6, Corey. Supporting people in hearing each other. So that's what we're gonna focus on today. A lot of it is me doing the work of translation. There is this basic NVC process. Actually, Corey, if you can show the next slide, the 4-step communication process. So when I listen as a mediator, and it doesn't matter if it's a formal mediation or informal mediation, I listen to the observations, translate the evaluations and interpretations to observations, because people will not say that directly. I translate the thoughts, the judgments into feelings, the strategies into needs, and the demands into requests. It's kind of hard work. There is a skill to it. There is like a creativity to it. I think part of it is also finding our natural flow and language, because we don't want to sound awkward. So we'll see how it goes when we get to the practice. So you can go back to the previous one. Yeah, I'm not going to review all of this. I think I said about the translation, asking parties to reflect what they hear when they have the capacity and the willingness, asking them to speak to each other. People tend to say like he and she, they speak to me and speak about the other person in third person language, and I invite them to speak to each other. And trying to get to the root, focusing on needs versus people's stories. Naturalizing the language, I spoke about it. Power differences is a big topic. I'm not going to get too much into this today, but that's something that I am tracking. Today in this role play, we actually chose a role play that, it has some of that, but not much, for simplicity. And also awareness of cultural differences, because that can really help me hold people. And if I'm not aware of the differences, I may be able to, even contribute to harm. So I actually want to now shift to the video. You can read more later in the slides. and show you this 5 minute of a demonstration of how these principles are played before we start the role play.
Are you willing also? There was a question in the chat. Is it now also the
Yeah,
time?
what's
The question is, would you say that it's, let me see, would you say it's not good to mediate people close to us, like family and friends? Does it matter?
I would say it takes much more skill. The more it's close to home, the more I'm personally impacted. It's a higher level of non-identification, right? Because it's almost like a different place in the brain when I am identified or I'm in an attachment relationship. I'm much more impacted by things. And to be able to support others and be a full advocate for everyone with passion, the same way, without taking sides, without judgments, it just can take more kind of higher level of on the spiritual ladder. Did I answer your question? I don't know who asked it.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for this answer.
Okay. Then I start.
But it's possible. It's possible, and I would like us all to work towards that when we can be of use. Yes, so please let's play the video. It's 5 minutes. Oh, before you just can you just wait a minute, Corey?
Yes.
I just want to give context. This is a scenario, it's a role play. So it's the people in the role play are not playing characters, they're not the real people. And the scenario is about a couple, and there is a kind of a gap between how much one of them, the man, wants physical touch and intimacy, and the other partner, the woman, willingness. And it's been like a dynamic for years that is very painful. Again, very common situation.
Celeste, you open to share a bit about the internal experience that you would like Michael to understand better?
Yes. I appreciate that he acknowledged that I want connection, because that's true. And the anger, to me, it comes from frustration of feeling like we're back in the same place again, because he reaches for me and I have this this reaction, and I know that then he's going to see that I'm angry, so it makes me feel like I'm responsible for him not feeling rejected, even though I've tried really hard to explain in all these different ways that when he kind of surprises me, or when I feel his neediness around physical touch, it really repels me. And then I feel like that's not acceptable.
Thank you, Celeste. I imagine this was not easy for Michael to hear. So I want to acknowledge that. And I would like to try to reflect and do some translation of the judgments words that I heard to help possibly also support Michael in hearing you, because that may be an obstacle. Would that work? Yeah?
Sure.
Michael, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. So what it will help me is if I can speak in first tense as Michael. And I want to check for permission from you, Michael, to do that. And I will definitely check if what I say is accurate for you. It just helps me drop into the reflection.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you. So as Michael, Celeste, what I'm hearing is that it seems like when you get this, whatever gesture I'm doing, that for you translate into, I want physical intimacy with you. Not only you have this body reaction of contraction, but also there is a lot of emotional charge around how are you going to navigate the impact on me, saying no to me, that it's really stressful. So that means that you cannot really be with you fully, with your body, and kind of trust that you can just be with your experience. You're holding my experience and the impact on me and the impact on our connection. So there's all these layers that create a lot of frustration and challenge for you. I'm just going to pause and check if that what I said so far was accurate.
Yeah, that was so accurate. That was like the best I've ever heard it described, because what happens is
Wait,
yeah.
Before you say because, let's pause. Maybe that will be our last piece. So you saw a piece now. There was a moment of tension where Celeste was saying all these things that were pretty judgmental about he's doing all these things wrong. And my experience is that when I do the reflection with the translation, meaning in my reflection, there was no judgment of Michael, zero judgment of Michael, all about Celeste and her experience and the innocence of her experience, right? It was kind of like, yeah, there is the layer of I'm having this experience, and even more challenging or as challenging is the piece about how do I say no because it's been so painful. And yet again, I have to say no. And this is just a human experience. No one is at fault. My sense is that when we are able to do that as mediators, that Celeste was like, wow, that's exactly it. Although that's not what she said. And for Michael, hopefully, his system can actually stay with Celeste and understand what she's saying without experiencing defensiveness. That's magic. That's really where the transformation can happen. I see you both nodding, so it seems like you did experience that. You too, Michael?
Yeah, that was helpful.
I liked that you used the word magic. That's what I was specifically nodding to, because I do think it's very magical when you can take two people and act as the translator and help them hear each other in ways that they just are not going to otherwise be able to hear each other.
Yeah. And what I did is just reframing of your message, to take all the blame and all the you thing out of it and stay with the essence of it, with the truth of it, with the vulnerability of it.
Thank you. I am curious to hear, how was that for people to watch? What did you get from it, if anything? Sarit?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
That was fascinating. Actually, I'm a bit starting in my community through NVC, doing some kinds of mediating. So that's really interesting for me to see, and to see if we're going towards close to what I just saw, and also very similar to what Marshall used to describe in his videos. But other than that, I wanted to ask, you said that sometimes mediation not always working, and I was wondering if there are several reasons or main reasons that usually happens. And do you know that from advance a bit, or after you finishing all the process, you saying, okay, we haven't got to a point and we cannot help you anymore?
So I actually would like to stay with the video and hearing responses about the video. So can we leave this question to the end?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Jim, and then Manoj.
Yeah. So I remember where versus what Marshall would do with having person B, after listening to person A, state what person A's needs were. It sounds like you're providing, maybe as a shortcut, the translation for B, so B doesn't have to do the work, because it could be a bit arduous, especially if they don't know NVC. How are they going
Right.
to come up with the right needs? So yeah,
Right.
I'm just making that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And I sometimes I do ask the person to reflect if they have capacity and if they have willingness, and then I will back them up. I will add, or I will because the purpose is not for me to hear them, because I can easily hear them. The purpose is for them to hear each other. But I'm like a bridge. The mediator is a bridge, because through my reflection, now in this role play, Michael was able to hear better what Celeste in her role was trying to communicate, because the judgments are an obstacle.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Manoj?
Yeah, thank you. Two takeaways from me. One was the way you did it, and then the way you explained to you was speaking in terms of I, the impact on me rather than you, which is the judgment
Yeah.
coming out. That was one takeaway from me. The second takeaway for me is we hear through our own filters, right? When people speak to us, we have our own biases, assumptions, inner jackals, stories going on. And when those words come to us through those, in NVC, we have learned that one of the way connection request is to say, hey, can you tell me what you heard? The reformulation request. But the non-NVC people in the world, they have not been taught that skill. So I like the fact that you brought up, right? Hey, what did you hear? So not necessarily what the lady said is what the guy heard, because the guy heard through his own
Right.
biases and whatever thorns.
Yeah.
Right? So those were the
Yeah.
two.
Yeah. And that's exactly where the communication breaks. And we go to separation when there is a gap between the message conveyed to the message received. So we are trying to close that gap with these reflections. And again, it's a very different way of doing mediation than what we currently have in the world. I want to soon start the role play, so let's hear from Tina, Pam, and then role play.
Oh, thank you, Aya. I wondered, this may have something to do with the that we didn't go to as much, talking to each party separately, but how do you decide quickly, I don't want to take a lot of time, who is person A and who is person B? I'm wondering if there's
Yeah, I tried to decide this at the beginning, at the pre-mediation, when I become aware of like who's most impacted, what are the power differences, if we have a boss or a parent or a teacher, I would tend to start with the person who is less access to power. And I will also try to make this agreement before we start, and not because then I'm worried about spending a lot of time during the mediation deciding that. Yeah, is this enough?
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And Pam?
She's
You're
good.
off? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Corey, if you can help me track Sarit's question so I come back to it at the end, that would be super helpful for me, or I will connect with her offline if we don't have enough time. So the role play, again, my purpose is we're not going to do like beginning to end. I don't know that we get to any like solutions. It's just we take a segment from the mediation, the segment where I support people in hearing each other, and we will do small bits, and I will pause to share some points and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I want to say that we can do it even if we are not appointed to be formal mediators, right? It's a little bit harder, maybe, because people may not trust us and they didn't ask us. But I think that if we are very skilled and we demonstrate, that it's actually supportive, people will welcome support like this. And one of the things right now is that people are stuck with conflicts, and they they don't have the support that they need to work through them. So I would love to have, many of us learn these skills so we can offer this in the world more. And so to present the situation, actually, do you want to present yourselves, like in the role, who you are?
Sure. I'm playing the sister, Randy's sister, and we are in disagreement about. Do you want me to just explain a little bit of my sense of the conflict? We're in disagreement about our mother's care. She has dementia, and currently she's living at home, and we have a wide gap between our choice, our interpretation of what's the best choice for her care moving forward.
Yeah, and Randy is living closer to the mom, right? Is more like the caregiver, right? Is this what we agreed? Correct me if that's not.
We're both checking in on her, but I think yeah.
Okay, maybe it's not that important. Anything else that we need to share for the setup?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, so we assume that we met already, alone. We're not doing like the check-in, we're just diving in. So let's start. And I will do this every time I want to pause and share something. And so we'll be in and out of the role play. And you just, go into the character, feel it from within, inside out. And let's play. So, Randy and Celeste, thank you for being here today. We already met individually with each of you, and I'm glad we can meet together today and try to create a space for each of you to be heard and understood by each other. And hopefully that will support us in finding some agreements, some solutions for care for your mom, that care for your mom and care for each of you and what's important to each of you. That's the goal. And so I'd like to see if one of you is open, willing to share something that you would like the other to understand about your experience, about your needs.
Yeah, go ahead, Randy, if you want to talk.
Okay. Well, I would just really like you to understand the fact that mom is going to be taken care of so much better in her own home with the caregivers that we choose, and we can keep a closer eye on her and what her needs are. And I'm just really worried that if we put her somewhere that she's just not going to get the care that we need. And I don't have the trust in strangers, caring for her in the way that we would.
Thank you. Okay. So this was a piece, and just out of the role play, I want to say that what I'm tracking is I don't want the expression to go too long so that I or Celeste will not be able to track the meaning, if it gets too many threads. So this was just for me in my body. It was just, a good moment to pause. And you paused anyway, Randy, but if you were going more and starting to say more, I would stop you. So that's one thing important, because if we are going to empathize, empathy has a certain pace. We need to be present with each unit of meaning. So one of my roles is to really slow things down. Okay, back to the role play. So Celeste, I wonder if you have the capacity to reflect as we practice in our one-on-one calls a little bit. What are you hearing that is important to Randy here?
I'm hearing that what's important to Randy is that our mom is getting the best care, and I'm hearing that she thinks that that's going to be at home. And I heard the part about, like not strangers, which confuses me because the caretakers are sort of strangers, but I heard her say that, so I guess that means she feels more comfortable somehow with caretakers in her home.
Well, yeah, they've
Okay,
been
okay.
caretaking her
Let's
for like a year and or 2 years, and we know them now. Like, so
Okay, let's pause for a second. So I hear your confusion, Celeste, and I would like to attend to it. And I first would like Randy to check that she's heard about what she wanted to express. And so I would like to add that I'm assuming that, Randy, that like you said, your sense of connection and trust with the caregivers, even though they're not family, is higher from your possible trust or connection with people in a facility or some kind of a memory unit care, because you know them, and it just you feel more at ease and trusting. Is that right?
yeah, and they know that I'm going to be popping in there like any time of the day to go check on mom, and so like she just lives down the road, so it's easy for me to, if we move her somewhere, like there's no location close by that we can put her in, and so yeah, I
Okay.
feel comfortable with them, and yeah.
Yeah, so you added a little bit. There is also like, having her close by rather than having to go somewhere that is not close to home. That would add more ease. Yeah. So just to pause, I'm still kind of focused on Randy, but also tracking Celeste, that she was a little bit. It's when people reflect and then they add a little bit of like their own thing into it. So that happened now, and what I'm trying is to really maintain that structures of let's focus on who we are focusing, and then shift focus to the other person very explicitly and together. And my sense is that Randy was complete about this piece. I'm actually going to check now back to the roleplay. Randy, do you feel complete about this first piece? I would like to check in with Celeste.
Okay.
Thank you. So, Celeste, I'm tracking your confusion, and I'm wondering if you feel a bit more clarity.
I feel clear on how Randy sees it. I just see it really differently.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's clear. So that was, thank you. That was my thing. I wanted you to be clear about Randy's perspective. So I'm gonna pause and share that I confirmed with Celeste that she's clear. So a lot of what I'm doing is tracking, right? Tracking the needs. All the time tracking. Takes a lot of presence. And I would like now to go back to the roleplay and check, Randy, if you're willing, open to hear from a response from Celeste.
Yeah.
So Celeste, how was this for you to hear? What's coming up for you?
Well, I do really care about understanding, Randy's perspective, and I like really believe that she wants the best for our mom, just like I do.
Can you like talk like I'm in the room? Like I'm here, right here, and you're like
Okay.
saying she and like
Okay. Randy, sorry, I'm not pausing the role play. I would like, yes, to invite you, Celeste, to talk to Randy, not in third person, and vice versa, because that I get, it's kind of odd to speak about people as if they're not here. I also want to acknowledge that that happens a lot because as the mediator, people tend to speak to me. So it takes some practice to actually remember that the conversation is between you two.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so Randy, I believe that you want the best for mom, like I do. And this question of like whether she's better cared for at home versus in a place with professionals who are trained specifically to care for people with dementia is, where we're sort of seeing things very differently. And I feel a little frustrated when I hear the idea that the caretakers in her home right now are like better somehow because, they're from an agency and some of them have been around for a long time, but we don't have total control, over who's going to be there. And I think that like she could be getting more specific care for what her actual needs are if she was in a facility that's designated for that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That was a chunk. So I would like to ask you, Randy, if you're willing to tell Celeste what you're hearing. I also, before you do that, I want to say that something that Celeste said that that I'm kind of, touched by, that you both want the same thing. You both want the best care for your mom. And that's a very connected place. And your divergence is about your different interpretations or strategies about what that may look like. And the purpose of this conversation is to see if you can find something that works for both of you, even if it's not each of exact your preferences. So I wanted to say that. And outside the role play, I would say that the reason why I was saying this right now is because every time I see like a point of commonality, a point of people are on the same page, they want the same thing, they have the same need, they see things the same. I always want to explicitly say it because it's kind of infusing, energy of togetherness into the field. So I'm jumping on it almost. Can you feel that? That it does something. And now we're going to go back and hear the reflection from Randy.
so what I'm hearing you say is that you're wanting the best care for mom just like I do, and you're saying that people in a care facility are more trained and might have more capacity perhaps to take care of mom's needs there rather than the folks that are in her home now. And yeah, I think
You want to check with Celeste if you got it?
yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you got it, Randy, like what I said. And I guess actually, like to me, the issue is safety, really. And I didn't say that the first time, but it's about like what's safe, where she's safe.
Safe, like not safe in her home, but like I don't know, like
So I would like to interrupt and share, because I had a conversation with Celeste one-on-one. I have a sense that I know what she means. And so I would like to be Celeste for a second and try to communicate what I understand Celeste is saying to you, Randy. Would that work?
Okay, sure.
Outside of the role play, I'm gonna say that this is a technique that I learned from my empathy teacher in Israel, Naftali Shimrat, who's now in his 90s. He was a student of Carl Rogers, and he used to coach people, and a lot of it was based on empathy. And he would just do this thing where he would ask to be the person and speak in first tense. And I find that that can really move things sometimes, like so. And I'll check with you, Celeste, if I got it right. So back to the role play. So Randy, as Celeste, I want to say to you that, you know, the last few months have been tough. Like when I come to visit mom, you know, the other day she didn't find her way to the restroom. It seems to me like she might be losing a sense of like the space, and I'm terrified about her, you know, getting up at night, not finding her way, falling, leaving the house, because, you know, the caregiver is leaving in the afternoon for 2 hours and she's alone at that time. And I'm terrified about her leaving. I hear all these stories about people, you know, being lost. And it actually affects my well-being. I have a little bit of like all the time a sense of anxiety, and I'm imagining that her being in a place where I know she's really held 24/7 will give me a lot of peace of mind. Okay, that was my piece, and I'm checking, Celeste, if I got that right, because I know you shared with me some context when we met.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was like better than I could have said it.
Okay. So out of the role play, this was for me empathy. You know, I'm taking everything I learned from Celeste. I shared observations that Celeste didn't share. I shared feelings. I shared needs. It was totally, you know, language that is common language. It didn't sound weird. And I offer it to Randy in a vulnerable way that Celeste may not be able to access in this moment, because when people are in conflict, they tend to be protected, in the hope that this will serve Celeste in receiving empathy, because she will be seen, she will be heard by me in my reflection, and will also serve Randy in having deeper understanding, because I'm giving her so much more information, and it's very kind of in the quality of vulnerability. And so that's the power of this practice. Going back, Randy, I'm curious to hear, how was that for you to hear?
Definitely explained what you were trying to say, Celeste, about safety, and helped me to understand that, you know, you're really worried that mom might fall, or that she will lose her way, or perhaps even leave the house. And yeah, so I understand all that. And I also think that, you know, as she, you know, her symptoms get worse and she gets deeper into dementia, that we then just, you know, we're going to have full care of the house. And so I'm like, I've been thinking about solutions or strategies as, you know, she gets worse. So, but I mean, to answer the question, yes, I understand now that you're really wanting her to be safe, and it actually is taking a toll on you and your work and probably your kids, and with all your hold with your family. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, out of the role play, energetically, I'm sensing there is a coming together in this moment. at least like from Randy to Celeste in this direction. And back to the role play, I'm gonna just do something that I also do a lot, which is you will see now. Just hearing from you, Randy, what you just said, and Celeste, I just want to take a moment to really mourn that you find yourself in this situation. I mean, this is your mom. And to see her losing her cognitive capacities, her, losing her sense of self, it's really, to witness that for both of you is heartbreaking daily. And I just want you both to have a moment to kind of, sit with the mourning of it all. I want to say that for me, this is me always tracking that we're talking about human beings, and it's about you being human. For me, it's not like, how do I support these people to solve this problem so I can be a successful mediator? I want to just accompany humans in their human lived experience. And I found that when I am able to do that, orient in that kind of human way, it's also very supportive of, your own healing and trust and kind of being, with your vulnerability. Yeah. Did you feel that? Yeah. So I am going back to the role play. I have a sense that, Randy, you really got Celeste points, and I'm wondering if there's something that you would like Celeste to really get that you haven't yet expressed, or
Um, honestly, I just feel like whatever I say, it doesn't really matter. Like in the end, Celeste has her mind made up that this is what, she wants to do, even though she is hearing me, like you're hearing me, Celeste, but still, it's like it's not an option. That like what I don't know, I just feel like what I'm saying, like it doesn't matter, like whatever you think, that's the thing that we should do.
Okay. Let's pause. For me, this is a moment. By the way, I'm telling to everyone, we didn't script it, so I don't know where things are going. It's happening spontaneously in the moment. For me, this is a moment where we are touching a deeper layer, which is so many times present in relationships and in mediations. It's the dynamic of the relationship. It's like maybe Celeste is the older sister and Randy all her life. All your life you've experienced that, your needs are not heard by her, or you don't matter. We always do what Celeste wants. But the heart of it is that you don't have trust that you matter. And when we don't trust that we matter, it's going to be really hard for us to collaborate. So the way I'm handling this moment is intuitively, I'm sensing it's again useful for me to become Randy and express what you just expressed to Celeste in a more vulnerable way. Because the way it was expressed, it can easily bring up defensiveness. And then that's not useful, because it can be heard as accusation, as a judgment. You don't care, you don't listen. So I want to reach Celeste now, because I think that can be contribute to a shift by giving her the vulnerable version that Randy probably cannot access. So back to the role play. Randy, are you open for me to do the same that I did before, like speak to Celeste in a first tense, as if I'm you?
Okay.
And try to convey what I understand you're trying to say here?
Sure.
Celeste, as Randy, I want you to hear that overall, in our communication, and specifically about mom, I've been just struggling to trust that what I care about will be taken into consideration or will be taken seriously and will be held just as much what's important to you is being held. And that's a deep pain for me. I think it's probably going beyond mom, but we're here to talk about this specific situation. And it's making it really hard for me to to access goodwill and to believe that there's a way to care for me as much as to care for you, or to care for you as much as to care for me, both. And I want to pause and check how's first, Randy, did I get it?
Yeah, very much. Thank
So
you.
I want to say that I'm always tracking that I don't know what's going on for people. I'm always checking if I got it right. Always checking. That's part of the humility. Most of the times people say yes, but I still am not assuming. And after Randy confirmed, then I'm checking with Celeste.
What exactly am I responding to, Aya?
So I want to check if this makes sense to you, if you can connect with what I just said. How was it to hear?
Yeah, it makes sense to me that it's probably about more than mom. And it matters to me that Randy, that you feel like, you can have a dialogue with me. And I kind of feel like that's what we're here doing. So I hope that's, I don't know what else I can do to demonstrate that I'm listening to you.
I will tell you what you can do. Are you open to hear?
Yeah, sure.
So what I found is that, and this is why you chose NVC mediation, right? We're trying to find a path that works for both of you. Also because that's also the only sustainable path. Otherwise, you will find yourself disconnected, and that's not what you want. And one of the things that you can do, Celeste, if you now are aware that this is Randy's experience, is to tell her that you are actually unwilling to settle on a care program that she's not signed up for. That the only way that is going to work for you is if you find something that truly works for Randy too. And I think that if I know that that's how you're oriented, or I imagine that's how you're oriented, given you're here, like you said, and there's something about saying it explicitly and demonstrating your commitment to that I think might be supportive of Randy. Does this make sense?
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. So you want me to say it to her directly?
Yeah.
Was it really true? Like, that's
I would like Celeste to say it only if it's true, of course.
okay.
And I would like to invite you, Randy, into trusting, opening to trust, even though it's kind of vulnerable and challenging.
I'm starting to feel defensive. Like you said, if it's really true, and I'm a little lost. Like I know what outcome I want, and I am here dialoguing about it, and I am listening to you, Randy, and what you say does matter. And the reason we're having this dialogue is so we can come to an agreement, which to me means an agreement that works for both of us. But I'm feeling just a little bit like now I'm supposed to tell you that you're gonna get things your way.
Yeah. So I want to say that this space is a space with a new consciousness. And I almost feel like, the old voices kind of come and to you all the time, and they come up. And that's very natural because this is where we live, in the either or, in the distrust groove. You have your histories. And so it really is vulnerable and challenging to step into a new territory like this and trust. And I just would like to invite you to try it out. And every time you notice like there's a shield coming up, to kind of give it empathy, say, I hear you, it's vulnerable to trust. And obviously you paid a lot of money to do this mediation, and so much, met individually, and so much resources and so much time. This is a precious opportunity for you to choose, a different path. Does this make sense, what I'm saying? Yeah. So going back to you, Celeste, if you are willing again, and see if it's also, if you find the place inside of you that it's really like coming from your truth.
Okay. All right. What's really coming from my truth, Randy, is that we share a mother that we both really love. We're in a really, really hard situation. We both seem to genuinely want what's best for her. And I am committed to this process specifically so that we can come to agreements instead of one of us trying to overpower the other one, which isn't the way I want to live with you. It's not what I think mom would want. And also, like, doesn't seem to have any end game to it if we were just trying to struggle or undermine each other. So I genuinely want to be here at this table, so to speak, with you to like plot together a way forward. It just seems like the only way to answer all of those things.
Thank you. Randy, are you willing to reflect what you heard?
Yeah, that's really helpful actually to hear that you're really wanting to make the decision together and that you're really caring for not only what you want, but what I want. And you don't want like this struggle between us. You really want us to figure it out together. And that's settling for me to hear you say that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Celeste, for stretching to offer this and accessing because it sounded really real for you. And I want to invite you, to really let go of the outcome, to really let go of whether, you're going to keep mom at home or she's going to leave. There are many, many strategies to meet needs. You may come up with a very creative new idea that you haven't thought about before. And the most important thing is the quality of trust and togetherness that you can build in understanding what's matter to each of you so that you can hold it together. And then just trust that the solution will come, that the strategy will come, that you will find a path. And it may not look as, this either or thing.
I like that.
Yeah, that
Okay.
makes sense.
I am noticing we have about 23 minutes to the end of this session, and I would like to pause the role play and hear some responses and questions, and especially things that people noticed that I'm doing that worked or didn't work or you're confused about. Does this sound like a good moment to pause? Celeste and Randy?
Sure.
Do you want to share something about how was it for you?
I would like to share.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, we've done a lot of role plays together, and I just feel so strongly that this tool, the tool of role play, is so magnificent in so many different applications. And I just was so aware in this role play of like the roller coaster. Like I could feel these moments of relief, like Randy, when you said basically something that I registered in my role as like, yeah, there will come a time where she needs a different kind of care. And I felt this huge relief, like in my character of like, oh, okay, so you don't think this can just be sustainable forever and ever. And then there were like these other moments where I could just feel so much in my role, what you were describing, Aya, that I think must play a huge part in a lot of mediations, which is people's patterns coming in, right? So I could like feel that like sisterly response of like, okay, here we go again. Randy's needs have got to like we got to stop everything and like deal with your sensitivities. And it was just so fascinating to like really feel the openings and the closings or the shutting downs and then the stretching. Like I when you called it stretching, I really in my character I felt that. I felt like it was really hard to do. But your invitation to like to breathe a little and try to say what was real was very, very, very helpful. Yeah, so those are some
Yeah.
reflections from inside of it.
Thank you. Wow, it's very rich to hear. Randy?
Well, I will say there was a point at which I mean, maybe it's partly of what I came from, but I definitely was moved. Even just, I was so in it that I felt tears coming, and like that's the power of role play.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just, and you know, from
Yeah.
all kinds of different role plays that I've witnessed, it's
Yeah.
nothing compares to this work of connecting together when someone skilled is holding the space. So it
Yeah.
was just
Because the
really
brain doesn't
powerful.
know the difference between a role play or it's just an embodiment in the moment. And there is a universality, right, in the experience, even if it's not about mom, the needs are just universal.
Yeah. And that piece, where you said, broke in around the power, like my bringing in like another layer, like really naming that, but not going there, but naming it. And that was,
The
it was
mattering piece.
settling for
Yeah.
me because I was going, oh, she's seeing like I do matter, but it wasn't part of the piece we were working on. And so, yeah, I think that piece was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you notice that at the end, I know we were not complete, but there was a quality of togetherness that was not there when we started. So we were building
Absolutely.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to name one more thing, Aya, which is just the moments that that you named what we had in common, which was the when we were in concert about what we wanted ultimately for our mother, when we were in concert about the fact that we had joined to do this process, and there was and the mourning.
Right. There were
Those
these three
things,
things of that there was no conflict, and that was
right?
a solid foundation.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that you caught that. Thanks,
Yeah.
Celeste. Thank you both so much. And I'm really, really eager to hear from people. So let's open it to questions and I'm still seeing myself in the spotlight. Oh, okay. Thanks, Corey. Arbor?
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to say, like, I've done role plays before, I've seen role plays before, and this felt like a really amazing example because all three of you were so clearly going deep with it. And I was thinking before you said it at the end just then, how our brains don't know the difference between role play and real life. I was just noticing how, especially near the end there, with that stretch of Celeste and Randy's last couple reflections, it really felt, I really saw the embodiment. It was so believable. And that was very
Yeah.
helpful, just that you took it that far, So thank you all.
Yeah, and that's very different from other types of mediations where people focus on just, the externals and trying to find something that everyone will say yes to, but it may not, they will still stay completely disconnected. Yeah. Pam?
I'm trying to, am I unmuted? Yes, I am. Sorry. I was so moved. Initially, when you'd shown us the video, I was completely felt like this would take 20 years of NVC practice to even consider doing. But in your breaking it down, I noticed every time you said thank you, my whole body relaxed. And that was such an important acknowledgement and peace. And the second thing I noticed was how much you used intuition and how powerful that was to get the agreements of them being on the same page.
Yeah.
And so that was also so powerful and so beautiful. So thank you.
Intuition is huge. And saying thank you and thanking people is also, I'm glad you noticed that, because it's a practice of I'm trying to always appreciate people as much as possible, because it's not granted that people will be willing to offer reflections or do as I ask. And so it is a practice. And as you could see, the intuition, like there was pieces of education there were pieces of coaching people. So it's like whatever it takes. I have like this hat and I'm taking everything from it that I believe might move things forward into togetherness. And empathy is the core of it. Thanks, Pam. Juliana.
So I noticed how many times you were kind of, coaxing and coaching people, as you said, to kind of, consider a different path, choose a different way. And this is a different space. And, so many times, would you, and then you would always invite, I would like to invite you, Randy, to open to trust, like, for example, and this space it has a new consciousness here, and invite you to try it out. So there was so many spaces here where you were kind of coaxing them, or pulling them, into a different direction. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm using NVC language. If I say to people, if I think that I'm as the mediator, my role is to tell people what to do, that's not gonna work, right? It's more like I create an invitation. They can say yes, they can say no. That's the spirit of NVC.
Thank you so much.
But I'm still very much leading. It's Anne.
Yes, thank you. I really, toward the end, at one point you said, I think the two were more comfortable with, with a little more in tune with one another. And when you said, let's let go of the outcome, to me, that was a really important, very important thing, because you were offering them a chance. And I also felt relaxing. I could relax and no, we don't have to settle anything. We don't have to have any outcome. We just being where we are is being present with this, and again having the empathy was already coming. So I thank you for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my pièce de
Yeah.
resistance. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's basically an NVC principle, right? Letting go of the outcome and saying it explicitly can bring this relief. And it's also, especially if I am not, in anxiety about the outcome as the mediator, if I'm truly embodying the letting go of the outcome, it creates this field. Thank you, Anna, and then Jane.
Yes, hello. First of all, thank you so much for showing us the role play. I noticed such a big complexity of the process, and what I noticed especially was that how much presence of yours is needed in this process, and how important it is to listen actively and deeply to each word that is spoken by each person. And I felt like it's very important attuning to those. So maybe intuition that was already spoken before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was very
Yeah.
amazing.
For me, it's going hand in hand with my spiritual practice of cultivating presence for many years before I met NVC. I don't think we can do this without being present, and that's also the beauty of it, because it's an invitation for presence. That's why I chose to become a certified trainer, because I thought it will help me, become more present. And it's true. I can only offer to others what I have inside myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jane, and then Boriana.
Hi there. I just want to really comment about the slowness of needing to be present every section. Because if something slips by, then potentially a resentment or I'm not being listened to, and it will build. And that was just for. And then from that, if I may ask, is that how do you deal with scenarios where there's so much, or at least I'm thinking about a scenario with so much more complexity or longevity of discordance between people, where there's multiple issues built over a long time, and sort of it's almost impossible to start, let alone get anywhere. When you have
Well,
to
it's just not gonna be one call, right? It can be a process. Sometimes it takes longer, and there are in between, there could be individual meetings. There are all kind of combinations. If it's a group, it could be a combination of meeting with individual people and some small groups and then big groups. Depending on the complexity, you tailor the process.
And do you always meet with people individually as well as together? To then get
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I do.
Wow.
It's like there is this saying, slow is fast.
Yes.
Right? Because if you really take the time and slow down, you prevent so much, hardship later on.
Yeah.
And it takes like entangling, right? Disentangling the knots.
Yes.
Through active listening, through really identifying the needs.
And your training is are you happy to able to share about what your training was, or?
As I said at the beginning, I spent 14 years in Israel with this man, Naftali Shimrat, watching him doing this. And when I moved to the US, to California in the end of 2007, I was introduced to NVC. I think I already had a lot of that in my body, but I didn't have the map. And Marshall giving me this map of Offner really clicked all the training that I had about empathy from before into this kind of very structured process. And then the day after I watched Marshall's video, I volunteered in my husband's workplace and I started doing mediations. Just to practice. I watched all these videos with Marshall, with Mickey, wherever I could, and doing all this, experiments.
Are you able to guide us where to find or which videos to go to, or is it?
I think someone posted in the chat Mickey Kashtan's conflict hotline show. It's from many years ago,
Okay.
but it was really, really supportive of me.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think by now there are many other resources available.
Yes.
You can also go to my website because I have a lot there on my resources page.
Okay. Thank you, Aya. Beautiful.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Oriana?
Yes, Aya, Celeste, and Randy, thank you so much for this demonstration. I have this question regarding your requests for them to speak to each other. I've seen other NVC mediators, trainers who actually use the different technique, speaking to you and you translating what was said, so that to confirm whether it was the right, not the right, but the correct way the person wanted to understand, to be understood. And my question is, have you tried also this? And what is the difference for you between the two approaches?
I tried everything. Start with that. But I think that when I use this other way is when things are so tense that I don't trust they have any capacity to offer reflections or hear each other. And then I would say, speak to me only. Don't speak to the other person.
Thank you. That resonates with my experience, and wanted to confirm.
And sometimes I've been doing mediations where I only play the other person, like the person doesn't really like speak themselves. I do this, what I did demonstrated here, where I play them based on what I know about them to kind of help bridge.
Okay, thank you so much for this.
Yeah, sure. From before. Are you there? You're
Yes.
muted.
Sorry, you were.
Yes, sorry, there was a bit of a lack of connection for a moment.
I cannot hear you.
You cannot hear me?
Okay, now.
Okay. So should I ask again?
The same question. Yes, please remind me.
Okay. So you said before that not all mediations come to a resolution, and sometimes it doesn't work. So is there like reason or several main reasons why it happens? And if it's something you can also like start catching way from the beginning and not at the end of the process?
Yes. Yeah, so in my experimentation, there are many reasons, right, that can contribute, and I'm trying to meet them and remove them. So, for example, at the beginning, I didn't do the individual meetings before doing the mediation. I would meet with people right away, together, and that truly didn't work. I noticed that, I need to build trust with them. I need to do some preparation work, some role plays with them, give them empathy, because that will really increase the chances so that when we come together, people are ready. They already practiced with me a little bit. They already received empathy. So that was a big learning for me. I think a lot of the time it's like if I am not, sometimes it's just the mediator, right? It's not, it's beyond capacity. If I'm taking on something that is beyond my capacity to hold, I can actually contribute to harm. And I don't want to do that. So that's one of my assessments. Do I know the culture enough? Do I have like enough of awareness, enough of capacity to hold the situation? If I'm not catching and stopping people when there is judgments happening, when there is reactivity happening, it can easily escalate. And then it may be too late to go back. So I'm really wanting, learn to be on top of things. When I always, my awareness is when someone speaks, not just on them, but how is the other person perceiving it? How are they being impacted? And that's empathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are just some of the reasons. Was that helpful?
Yeah, very much. Thank you.
I'm sure there are many more.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Okay.
Someone
Is
in the
there-
chat
yes.
wants you to name or spell the name of your teacher in Israel.
Oh, Naftali Shimrat. You will not find anything about him because he kind of worked at the era pre-internet. So, but I can write it in the chat, I guess. Yeah, and he was a student of Carl Rogers that Marshall studied with too. So I always like mentioning Carl Rogers, who's considered the father of empathy in modern psychology, and that all these teachings are like, they don't come from one person, although Marshall definitely did something huge and big, integrating all of this and handing us Offner. But he also, collected these principles from all kind of places that you can trace back to them. Wow, that was really nourishing for me. Thank you everyone for being here tonight for some of you. Please reach out if you have any feedback or lingering questions. I'm always happy to hear from people. You can find my website and link to subscribe to my mailing list if you're curious to hear about things I'm doing. And thank you, Corey, and the team of Empathic Way Europe for hosting this year after year.
Thanks for your thanks, Aya, and thanks for you coming year after year.